Mark Petroni. I'm welcoming all of you who are tuning in to this transmission. This is the Western Standard online broadcast, if you want to call it, or transmission on the internet. We are now being seen on Facebook as well as on Western Standard's YouTube channel. Welcome wherever you happen to be in this wonderful country of ours. We're going to be chatting about the politics of Canada these days, specifically the question around whether or not the Conservative Party of Canada has abandoned Conservatives. Now, that question has been asked quite a bit lately, especially after a number of incidents that have taken place. We had Pierre Poilievre, of course, who's been a very popular critic, a finance critic. He was basically demoted, moved on to a less high-profile position. And the huge event that rocked many members of the party, specifically those who are pro-life and social conservatives, Derek Sloan being removed from the party, booted out, as it were, by O'Toole and members who supported him at quite a heated meeting not that long ago. So recently, what has taken place? Well, there's been a number of polls that have come out, one by Ipsos Reid, another one by Leger, another one by Abacus, that all of them point to a decline in the fortunes of the Conservative Party from one end of this country to the other, except for the prairies, where they continue to be strong, over 40%. But by and large, the Conservatives are now polling around 28%, which is pretty low. They don't want to go into the next election campaign, which could actually take place in June, as a matter of fact, with poll numbers in the 20s. You know, that's not going to work if the Tories are hoping to win. In fact, if you take Alberta and Saskatchewan out of the equation right now, excuse me, the Tories are polling probably in the mid-20s, just a hair's breadth above the NDP. I mean, let that sink in for a minute. I also want to talk a little bit about his negatives, but before I do that, I want to talk about our guests for the evening, because no, you're not going to have to listen to me the entire time. We have Clinton DeVoe on the line. Clinton coming to us from Halifax in the beautiful province of Ontario. And Clinton's been a frequent guest on my show on Saga 960. And I'd love to have Clinton on. He's a longtime political strategist. He worked for the Conservative Party. He currently is not an associate of that party, but he still has a lot of friends and a lot of people who like to talk and call him up and give him all sorts of information. And then Clinton then comes on to my show and spills the beans, and then I get a big scoop. So I'm always happy to have Clinton on the show. Hi, Clinton.
Good evening. How are you this evening, Mark?
I'm excellent, thank you. Usually we do this in the mornings.
Well, it's a pleasure.
I know it's after 9 o'clock in the evening in Halifax, but we've got good representation from across the country this evening, because we also have David Parker on the line, and David is a political animal as well. And David is a supporter of Erin O'Toole's, and so I'm looking forward to hearing his take as well. Are you there, David Parker?
Can you hear me, Mark?
Yes, I can. Thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me. It's a huge honor.
All right, Corey Morgan is also going to be on hand. He's doing he's pushing the buttons, he's making all this happening, so I wanted to get his name out there. Okay, here's what I want to throw out there to both of you guys. There's been suggestions of buyer's remorse by a number of people in the Conservative Party. Erin O'Toole has been the leader since August. He defeated a field that included Derek Sloan, that included Peter MacKay, who was largely seen as the favorite, as well as Leslyn Lewis, who was kind of the darling of the party as well. And so the Conservatives like all those people, but Peter was defeated in that race. People thought that Erin O'Toole, who had touted himself, and you remember this, both of you, he was going to be the true blue Conservative. Okay, so he has been slagging. He had been slagging throughout most of the campaign. Peter MacKay saying that this guy was the red Tory. Okay, if you want the true blue Conservative, I'm your man. I'm the guy that you need to select, not Peter MacKay. And so it was a strategy that helped Erin win the race. Except now, what are we seeing now? We're seeing moves by Mr. O'Toole that has some people questioning whether or not he is conservative or not. A flirtation with a carbon tax, possible move towards cap and trade, All right. He has rubber stamped the idea of net zero emissions by 2050 and looking at other moves as well. He booted Sloan out, suggesting that he's going to be not moving at all towards the direction of social conservative policies, whether it's abortion or same-sex marriage, a debate that many Canadians, frankly, don't really want to have right now because they've got a lot of stuff on the plate. But still some questions as to whether Erin O'Toole is a true blue conservative or not. Some people suggesting he's not. So I want to throw it open to you, David. Is Erin O'Toole a true blue conservative, or is he a liberal in disguise?
Well, let me put it this way, Mark. And, I don't work for Erin O'Toole. I make $0 from Erin O'Toole. So I just want to make that clear. My money's all made in business right now. But I'll say this. The Conservative Party is a group of tribes. There are a lot of tribes in the Conservative Party, and you have to bring them together. I was one of Stephen Harper's boys in short pants. So actually, when Brent Rathgeber wrote a book about his kicking out of Brent Rathgeber, a lot of your listeners may not remember him, but he was an MP from Northern Alberta. And he was kicked out of the Conservative caucus because he decided that he no longer wanted to be a team player. And he wrote a book. And in that book, if you all look at it, my name is mentioned as a kid in short pants. And I was totally a kid in short pants. Like, there's no question.
Okay. Are you wearing short pants right now?
No, I'm
okay.
wearing long pants right now.
You're wearing
normally, if I was, maybe, who knows? But I was totally a kid in short pants. Like, I'm a kid from a town. There's 14 houses in the town that I was born in. Like,
okay, where were you born?
Alberta. Haines, Alberta, which is
Haines, Alberta.
Well, I was born in Lacombe because there's no hospital in Haines, right? So I was born in this place called Lacombe, and my dad's a minister, an evangelical minister. He was a United Church minister, and he left the United Church. And so, as far as social conservatism goes, I was quoting the 19th Psalm when I was 2 years old. There's videos of me quoting the 19th Psalm.
Okay.
Not all of your listeners are going to know Psalm 19, but you all might know this: "The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want."
I shall not want.
And
okay.
I can quote that entire passage because I learned it when I was 2. And what always surprises me about people who think they understand social conservatives is they think that they know how social conservatives think because they can analyze it from books. Well, the truth of the matter is, I am a social conservative. I'm literally born and bred, raised, and I went to Trinity Western University, which was recently not allowed to have a law school because they, unfortunately, I think.
I remember the story. So, okay, thank you.
The long and short of it is, I know the social conservatives of this party, and I've literally been working with them since I was 15 years old. And I will say this. The social conservatives are not necessarily concerned with getting policies pushed, right? What they're concerned with is being respected. And they have not been respected by the general public of Canada for very long. In fact,
are they being respected by O'Toole right now? Are they?
Well, I would argue that they very much are being respected, and
booting Derek Sloan out of the party isn't exactly a way of showing respect.
Mark,
David, help me here.
Don't mock me. That's not kind. What I will say is this, right? Derek Sloan decided not to come on this program for whatever reason, and we'll let him explain that to the populace. But what I will say is, I'm here to represent my people. And my people...
Your flock?
No. Literally, the people that I come from.
Okay. The people from Haines. The people from Haines, Alberta.
The central Albertans.
I asked you a question, David. Please help me here. I'm not mocking you. I really want to know, is Erin O'Toole a true blue conservative? And, does he...
And I will answer that question with this. There's only one man who legitimately decided to come and represent the true blue conservatives. So Jason Kenney decided not to run in that leadership race. Yeah, he was premier. Ronna Ambrose decided not to run in that leadership race. John Baird decided not to run in that leadership race. I can list you 100 names of people.
Pierre Poilievre
decided not to run in that leadership race. And you know why they decided to do that? because they thought they would lose to Justin Trudeau. But there was one man who believed in the Conservative Party of Canada, and his name was Erin O'Toole. And
Well, Derek Sloan is conservative.
Derek Sloan ran to build his own brand.
That's odd. I thought Peter McKay.
Okay, I'm gonna move over. Let's go over to Clinton. Clinton, you heard what David had to say. He says that Derek Sloan running was really, he was running for himself, building his own brand. He was not really a conservative, and that Erin O'Toole is.
That is not what I said. That is not what I said. What I said is okay.
I misunderstood.
Imagine.
Go ahead.
So you're a mechanic, right? And
I'm a mechanic,
and you're trying to fix a truck, but you've never fixed a truck before. How good are you going to be at it? You're going to be shit.
Probably not very good.
Bad at fixing trucks. And Derek Sloan has never been involved in politics. He doesn't know how the Conservative Party works. He doesn't even know the basic.
Oh, there's a member of Parliament, so I mean, clearly he won an election.
Brand new member of Parliament.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Leslyn Lewis was brand new. She wasn't even a member of Parliament.
Leslyn Lewis is a massively accomplished person who has been a leader in many areas of her life.
Case that she didn't know much about politics, though. She didn't have that much experience in politics. I want to move over to Clinton. Clinton, help me out here. What have you heard? Is David right in terms of his views about Erin O'Toole being a true blue conservative?
No, I mean, quite frankly, no offense to David, he's out to lunch when it comes to this stuff. He's talking first. He talks about experience, how important experience is. I don't want to rehash the leadership race, but let's be honest. We had a co-founder of the party ran in the leadership race, who was a cabinet minister who had the exact same voting record in the House of Commons as some of the individuals that he listed: Jason Kenney, Pierre Poilievre, Stephen Harper. I mean, I defy anyone to tell me a difference in the voting record between Peter McKay and any of the people he's listed.
Oh, so, yeah, but Clinton.
No, let's hear Clinton. Please, David, we'll get back to you. We'll get back to you.
Yeah, it's a little bit bizarre that we've suddenly decided that there's only one person in the country who's an experienced conservative or conservative with governing experience. I mean, it's ridiculous. But anyway,
well, I don't think David Parker said that Erin is the only person who could have done that job. He said, if I heard David correctly, he was the only one in the field who had the kind of experience that Erin did, and he was the only. Is that correct, David?
Yes, that's what I said. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, finish, Clinton.
Yeah, what I'm saying is we know that's false. Like, again, look, Erin is the leader of the party, but let's stop with this dismissal that Peter McKay wasn't experienced, wasn't the co-founder of the party, wasn't a multiple cabinet minister in high-profile portfolios. He's just as experienced as anyone else. But for some reason, everyone is talking about this idea that you're either an O'Toole conservative or you're not, and I think it's ridiculous, quite frankly. And
all right, David, I want to thank you for that, Clinton. Yeah. I want to run this past. There was one prominent conservative. I actually had him on my radio show today, David Spencer Fernando. I'm sure you're familiar with Spencer. He claims that O'Toole owes an apology to Peter McKay because Erin had spent a good chunk of the campaign slagging Peter McKay as this red Tory who was really just another liberal running as a conservative. And at the end of the day, we're seeing evidence that it's Erin who has taken the party left. Do you feel that Erin wants to do this in order to try and peel off, whether that's 3 to 5%, whatever he needs of that liberal vote in places like the GTA where I am right now, or even in Halifax, where Clinton is, places in Calgary still, vote. A lot of people vote liberal, and people don't know that. I mean, you can't really say that Erin has been as conservative as he has claimed that he is. I don't know. Do you disagree with that?
Play the game you're playing, not the game you wish you were playing. And the answer to that is,
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
A leadership race is not a general election. I think all the members should know that. And the truth of the matter is, the reason that Peter McKay lost was because he insulted social conservatives. He didn't just insult them; he called them a stinking albatross around the neck of the Conservative Party.
Well, he didn't lie to them. I mean, he didn't say, "Yeah, I'm going to give you something. I'm going to push your cause." and then get in and then boot Derek Sloan out, though. So that's
So
Peter never did
Sloan
that.
is not the representative of the social conservative movement in Canada, and you can say that. That's fine, Mark. I'm not going to say that your opinion is you're allowed to have your opinion. But the truth of the matter is that the true social conservatives in this country. So there's a great verse from the Bible which says, "My kingdom is not of this world," and that's what Jesus said. Jesus Christ Himself said, "My kingdom is not of this world." And the real problem with a certain element, and it's a very small element of the social conservative movement in Canada, is that they're trying to push their own opinions of how other people should live on other people. And a good example of this is abortion and gay marriage, right? There's a lot of people in Canada who disagree with the idea that abortion should be illegal. There's a lot of people, including myself, who utterly disagree with the idea that gay marriage should be illegal. And you know what? It's totally fine. It's totally fine for a Canadian to feel that those things should be illegal. We should be all right with that opinion. But I disagree with that opinion wholeheartedly.
Erin O'Toole? Go ahead.
Let me call a spade here. I've been a long-time conservative activist and organizer for
I've never heard of you.
For decades now. And what I find
fascinating, David, finish.
What I find fascinating is that in my lifetime, there's only been 2 conservative prime ministers that have won majority governments, Stephen Harper and Brian Mulroney. And they did so by not talking about abortion, by not arguing about gay marriage. I mean, I can't believe that we're arguing about gay marriage in the year 2021.
Why do you think we're arguing about it? Because of Derek Sloan.
No, look, all I'm pointing out to you is that if you want to get votes in Atlantic Canada and Ontario and Quebec and British Columbia, and quite frankly, Manitoba as well, then you're going to have to moderate some of this social conservatism.
The only reason that any of this is happening is because of Derek Sloan.
Listen, Canadians are interested in pocketbook issues. That's what they're interested in. They're interested in their job, in their retirement, in their savings. That's what they're interested in. They're not, like, you're quoting Bible verses and this stuff. This is utter nonsense. Nobody is voting for a biblical figure to be sitting in 24 Sussex Drive. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Oh, I agree. It is ridiculous.
Here's what I don't understand. You said on one hand that Derek does not represent social conservatives, which is fine. But on the other hand, you're having a good chunk of the base is abandoning Erin. At least it certainly appears that way, David. I mean, you're welcome to dispute that. But when you look at his numbers, the conservatives are polling at 28% right now nationally, which suggests that a lot of people, and I've spoken to them, whether it's the Right Now people or people with the Campaign for Life, they're not going to be supporting Erin O'Toole. They're not going to be voting for Erin O'Toole. Those are tens of thousands of votes right across the country. Those people are saying that they're the ones basically who made the call not to support Lisa Raitt. The reason why Lisa Raitt lost, at least according to people in the pro-life movement, social conservatives, that they stayed home. They did not support her. They could have voted for her, but she gave them not even a minute of her day. She had no interest in listening to them, and so she ended up losing. So where am I going with this? I mean, Derek is out of the party, and there's a lot of people, whether Derek represents social conservatives or not, there's a lot of social conservatives who are not happy right now. In fact, the Campaign Life people called on Erin O'Toole to step down. So where are we at right now, David? Is this going to hurt O'Toole? Is this going to hurt the conservatives come election time?
No, it will not. You know what? Here's the truth of the matter.
Okay.
We can lose 15% in Alberta. And if we gain that based on... Okay, so I want to make a couple things clear. I'm not on Erin O'Toole's team.
Okay.
I'm not working for him. I'm not paid by him. But I will say this just from the outside as someone who's done politics for a very long time. He can afford to lose 15% in Alberta and Saskatchewan, and he could win majority government. There are I'll give you a good example of how little I care about polls.
Okay.
The very first poll we did on the Erin O'Toole leadership campaign, Peter MacKay was at 65%, and Erin O'Toole was at 3%. 3% in the membership. This was not a This was not a poll of the general public. This was a poll of Conservative Party of Canada members.
Yeah.
We had 3%. And
right.
we didn't care. And what
All
happened?
right. Yeah. Okay. Well, we all know that Erin ended up winning. I want to run something past for you, and I realize that you don't mind, that you don't really care that much about polls, but right now, at least according to Maclean's magazine, I want to read you this. In the Abacus Data's first poll after O'Toole won the CPC leadership back in August, O'Toole held a net favorability rating of +2. So in other words, at the time, 21% had a positive view of Erin O'Toole, 19% held a negative one. So more positive than negative. The numbers held mostly steady until late fall and then took a turn for the worse from a net rating of +1 in November, then -5 in December. And then since then, it's been a steady deterioration of O'Toole's to the point where now he's down -12 in the Abacus latest survey. So 32% negative impressions of Erin O'Toole, and only 20% had a positive one. So Clinton, weigh in on this. It doesn't suggest to me that Erin O'Toole is going in the right direction. And I would suggest that part of that is due to the way he's treated Derek Sloan, as well as demoting Pierre Poilievre. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, look, I have a different take on it. So first of all, I agree that the Conservatives, as they're currently constructed, are probably not going to win the next election. They need to gain seats in British Columbia. They need to gain seats in Ontario, Quebec, and Atlantic Canada. And they're in no position to do so right now. The problem that the party has is it's a crisis. It's an identity crisis. So you have people like myself that are interested in a party that's electable, that will appeal to a large swath of mainstream Canada, that are interested in winning. And there's a reason for that, because your best day in government, your worst day in government is better than your best day in opposition. And so then you have another segment of the party that thinks it's a religious movement, that thinks it's a morality brigade, and isn't interested in winning elections. It's interested in what it perceives as being right. And so this small yet vocal and yet well-organized group of social conservatives will do everything they can in order to take the Conservatives down. And there's a reason why, since Confederation, I mean, this is historic. Like, there's a reason why only 4 Conservative prime ministers have won majority governments. We have Sir John A. Macdonald, John Diefenbaker, Brian Mulroney, and Stephen Harper. When the Conservatives act professional and they listen to what Canadians are talking about, they can get elected. They want to have these social conservative debates and activities. That's fine, but just they have to decide in advance that they're not going to win.
Well, but the Conservative Party also wants to be the party that is open to all. They want to be big tent, and there are tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of people who sympathize with the idea that maybe we have laws as far as it applies to abortion that are too lax. We have no basic laws at all. I mean, you get an abortion at any time. I mean, some people find that are uncomfortable with that, Clinton.
That's fine. They can look. I'm pro-choice. They can feel uncomfortable about it all they want, but the reality is that if they want to form government, they need to be where the Canadian mainstream public is. And unfortunately, the way that the Conservative Party is constructed, it gives voice to a small but very well organized and vocal group of people that are motivated around morality issues.
Okay.
And as long as that continues, they will dominate the leadership races of the party, and they will ensure that the party can't get elected. We saw what happened in 2019. Andrew Scheer was asked questions around marriage. He stumbled. He couldn't say that he agreed with equality, and it cost him in the polls. The abortion issue comes up. It's the same thing. You have to be where the Canadian public is. If you don't want to be where the Canadian public is, then go join an advocacy group. Don't run to be government of Canada.
David Parker, was Erin O'Toole correct in booting out Derek Sloan, since you yourself suggest that Sloan was the problem here in terms of highlighting the whole issue?
Absolutely, 100%. Yes.
Okay. Well, you want to elaborate on that?
Well, I'd rather not because I was asked not to. But what I will say is this: Derek Sloan is not a representative of my people.
Your people, who? I'm sorry. Who are your people again?
I'm a SoCon.
He does not represent social conservatives. That's what you're telling me. Okay, but he is a social conservative.
That's okay.
Is that fair?
He represents us.
And does he think does he? Well, he's not here to speak for himself. Unfortunately, I would have liked
nice
it.
If he had showed up to speak.
Well, yeah, he's not here, so that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Where do we? Okay, the question is, where do we go from here? Okay, so what does Erin O'Toole have to do to win the election now? He got rid of Derek Sloan. I suggest that there's going to be thousands of votes that he's going to lose as a result of that.
You're absolutely right on that. He will lose votes on that, and I believe personally that was a very calculated decision.
But you think he's going to gain votes in areas like the GTA and Vancouver, perhaps Halifax, Winnipeg? You think he's going to gain votes from people who say, well, Erin did the right thing by booting Derek Sloan? I feel much more comfortable now that the party represents me. I'm talking about progressives, people who don't care about social conservative issues. Do you think that Erin scored some points with those people in areas where he needs to gain support in order to win seats? I'm asking David that question.
Well, I see that some Michael guy has said that I represent social conservatives, and I will say very clearly that I do not believe that I represent social conservatives, nor is my lifestyle representative of social conservatives. But what I will say is this: Derek Sloan is not a factor in the next election. There is two factors in the next election: Trudeau and Erin O'Toole. And the truth of the matter is, we only have one question to really ask ourselves as conservatives: is Erin O'Toole a real conservative? And my answer to that is very simple. Erin O'Toole believes in three fundamental principles, and I know this because I worked for him. He believes in freedom of choice, right? So not just freedom. If you want to be a Muslim, and Waleed Solomon, a good friend of mine, is one of his campaign chairs. So
I understand the diversity issue. Okay, what else does he believe? You say he believes in freedom of choice.
Freedom. The second is fiscal responsibility, and the third, and I think this is the most important that maybe people don't know about Erin, is that he believes in honor, and he's a military.
What does that mean? I don't even know what that.
Yeah, hold on. What does that mean?
In honor.
Freak out and do your whole thing.
I'm not freaking out. I'm asking you what it means.
Yeah, let me explain. So Erin believes in saying what you're going to do and doing it.
Well, Clinton, he said he was a true blue conservative. There are a lot of questions as to whether in fact he is. All right, so what does Erin O'Toole have to do to win the election now? He's trailing badly in huge chunks of the country. Out where you are, I think he's down to what, 15% in Atlantic Canada. I mean, there's a strong possibility he's going to lose the few seats he has out there.
Well, so there's things that he should do that he knows he needs to do, as I've alluded to earlier, that he can't do. So, for example, the Conservative Party is holding its national convention coming up, and there's going to be all kinds of sort of far out there policies that are going to be discussed around these issues.
Actually, there will be none.
And the public at large is going to look at that, and they're going to say, look, Erin might be a good guy, but his party, unfortunately, is going down a roadmap that we don't want to be a part of.
Okay, so make a prediction right now. And if there's a June election,
he needs to rein the party in, and he needs to say to the Canadian public, this is what we believe in, and this is where we're going, and we're not going to do any of this other stuff.
Clinton, you're literally describing what he's doing.
But really?
Yes.
I mean, I've yet to hear Erin criticize any of this stuff that's about to happen.
He
at the
kicked Derek Sloan out of the party.
Yeah, he did. Okay, that's true. He did do that. All right, so where does he stand on carbon taxes? Yay or nay, David?
There will be no carbon tax.
There will be no carbon tax, or there will be no Trudeau tax, because he's made a commitment to net zero by 2050. I mean, in order to do that, does he not have to raise the carbon taxes or at least keep a carbon tax?
Look. I'm going to say this, that
Okay.
I personally am a big Elon Musk fan. I'm buying a Tesla. I am a big fan of environment. We need to reduce emissions. I know Erin's also a big fan of reducing emissions. The truth of the matter is that a carbon tax is a way that a lot of people think that you can reduce emissions. I don't believe that's true, because I don't believe that taking money from everyone to reduce emissions is the right answer. But we have.
Why are people still wondering whether Erin O'Toole is going to bring in a carbon tax or not? Why?
Well, there's a lot of
I mean,
people who profit from believing that Erin O'Toole is questioning this, but Erin O'Toole's not concerned about those people.
I want to jump in just to add another.
All right, yeah, okay. Let's get who's up next? Corey? Did you say?
To add a bit of a different perspective, since it's back and forth, because I'm not a social conservative. I am a fiscal conservative. I am an Albertan, and I cannot support O'Toole. I'm sorry. He's trying to out-liberal liberals. He's with this talk about reducing emissions to the point, as you'd mentioned, in that timeline. That means if it's not a carbon tax, again, it's going to be some sort of crackdown on the West. We've been cracked down on enough.
Okay, so cap and trade. I mean, is that a possibility?
What is your answer, Corey, or is there no answer? Do you just say drill?
Well, hey, you guys are losing the way you're going right now. So you're talking that this path has been a successful one for O'Toole. It's not gaining him support. In fact, it's splitting it up. If anything, the most conservative government we ever saw in a long time was the Chrétien Liberals with a principled reform opposition in there. And if that's what it's going to have to take, I would rather that than having two Liberal parties to pick from in the next federal election.
So who are you voting for, Corey, right now? I mean, if there was an election today, would you vote for?
Tell us, Corey.
Yeah, no, I'm terribly undecided as it sits. I might even throw it at the Maverick Party because, I'd rather vote for someone to lose than vote for a loser I don't want representing me.
Well, I know what riding you're in and your vote doesn't matter.
well, that's a good case to tell Burton. Thanks. You put that on a brochure and send it out, Parker.
Yeah. And you know what? The truth of the matter is, as an Albertan, as you know, Corey, I can lose 15% in Alberta, and I'll be perfectly happy to get that 15% in the GTA.
Okay, so O'Toole supporters don't care if they lose 15% of Albertans. That's a brilliant campaign. I can see part of why Mr. O'Toole is doing it piss poorly as he is.
Absolutely,
guys.
Okay,
okay, Clinton. Let's hear from Clinton.
Yeah,
go ahead, Clinton.
So it's great that one guy says, I'm prepared to lose 15% in Alberta or Saskatchewan because I'm going to make it up in the GTA. Well, the reality is that if we look at all of the independent polling, and I'm not going to name any one firm, but we can see all of the polling data that's not happening. It's just not happening. The party is not in a position to gain or pick up seats in all of the areas where it needs to pick up seats. And to your point, I argue that it's a communications problem that the party has. And quite frankly, it's an honesty problem. To Mark's point earlier, when the leader of the party commits the party and says, we are going to follow through on net zero by 2050, which is the exact same position as the existing government. And then when the leader is asked the question, how do you intend to get there? And he's unable to give an answer, then it leads the public to question, A, is he being honest? And B, does he know what he's talking about? And I would argue that the problems that he's having in the polling data is because the Conservative Party doesn't really know what it wants to campaign on and what it wants to tell the public what it's going to do. You can't, on the one hand, say we're gonna meet these targets that the existing government has agreed to, and then on the other hand say, but we're not going to follow through on any kind of tax regulatory burden.
And David Parker, thank you, Clinton. David Parker, there were at least a dozen caucus members in Erin O'Toole's caucus who are speaking with media, critical of their leader, saying that he's going in the direction of a carbon tax or cap and trade, and that the party is moving a direction which they never signed on for. And that story was in global news earlier today. I mean, is Erin having to face down a caucus revolt now? Is that the problem?
Well, as someone who has helped orchestrate one of those, I'll say this: this is not a caucus revolt. This is a minor blip in the thing I love about the modern world is everything is 15 minutes. It's like what happened today. I will say this, and you know what? Maybe I'll be wrong, and Clinton will be right, but I'll say this: Fred DeLorey has lost a lot of elections, and then he won a really important one that no one thought he would. And that was Erin O'Toole winning. And Fred DeLorey is probably one of the smartest people that I've ever met. And you know what? Clinton can talk about polls before an election. There's only one poll that matters, and that is the election. And I'm fairly confident that, in fact, I would stake my entire reputation on this. Erin O'Toole will get at least 10 more seats than Andrew Scheer did.
Wow.
Great.
Well, that would put. Okay, so you're talking about in position, not quite a forming government, but pretty. I mean, would be depending on what the Liberals do. So you're saying right now that you're predicting that the Liberals will lose seats?
The Liberals will definitely not necessarily lose seats because they're going to. So the way that the map
they're going to gain NDP. You're saying the Tories are going to gain NDP seats?
There's block seats too. There's a lot of seats out there, right?
Yeah, right now the Tories are polling 13% in Quebec. The Tories are polling 13% in Quebec, and so they're
right now. You're talking about a moment in time.
Yeah.
Not a. So the thing about strategies is they don't just materialize immediately. First, you have to develop them.
Yeah.
Then you have to execute them. Then you get the result. So yes, Erin O'Toole was at 3% against Peter MacKay. You're right. In that moment of time, it looked pretty dire. But you know
all right,
what?
let's go. I want to go to Corey and ask him: have we maybe failed not to? Have we not given Erin enough of a chance? Because David seems to be suggesting that over time it's a strategy that will work. Corey, maybe we haven't given Erin O'Toole enough of a chance to make that strategy work.
Well, time's running out. I mean, it's only, I think, due to a messy vaccine rollout that we aren't certainly going to an election within a month or two here right now. You only have so much time to build this so far mythical Quebec support and things that are going to turn this around. So if there's a great hidden strategy out there, I'm really looking forward to it. I don't think putting Polyev on the backbench was a good way to do it. Again, every move seems to design to frustrate and annoy the core-based supporters. And I see that when I hear core-based supporters, the ones who have funded, the ones who have door-knocked, the ones who have put in decades, told, well, that's okay, we can lose 15% of your votes anyways because we got to win in Central Canada.
Well, what about that argument? So maybe we alienate some core members of the Conservative Party, but we offset that with people in Toronto, in the 905 belt, in Vancouver, in Halifax, because it's a zero-sum game. We get
enough. I mean, if you just want to win the West, then yeah, you are going to be confined to opposition no matter what you do. It's give and take. If you're going to, address one end, the thing is, though, that's what leadership is finding the balance of that coalition to get that broad support without alienating big chunks on left and right. And when you chucked Sloan out the way you did, you alienated the social conservative base, which I'm not even one of. But that's a chunk of that percentage that you're really going to have to regain somewhere. And
what about that, David?
Look,
before I go to Clinton.
Okay, look. Clinton, how many campaigns have you managed?
Okay, Clinton, go ahead.
Yeah, I've run a lot of campaigns.
How many?
I'm not coming on.
Let him answer.
I'm sure Mark can fill you in on some of my past background.
You worked for Harper.
How many campaigns have you managed?
Well, I don't want to go down through the list, but leadership candidates.
You managed the leadership.
Let him answer the question, please.
Okay, look, it's not about me here.
Corey, how many campaigns have you managed?
I've managed a number of them. Now quit questioning and let him answer.
Clinton, go ahead. Finish up. Okay, you worked for Harper, right? You worked for Harper's campaign. You've worked for leadership candidates, correct?
Yeah.
Managed the campaign. How many have you managed?
Are you gonna?
Yeah. Look, I don't want to get into that.
None. Zero.
Well, that's actually not true.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that Clinton has managed somebody, but he doesn't want to discuss it, right?
I've
Yeah.
managed.
All right, Parker.
I've
Let's
managed
hear it, David.
22
How many have you managed?
22.
22 campaigns. All right. So there you go.
And so what I will say is this. Every time I show up on a campaign, there's people like Corey and Clinton that show up and they tell me everything that I'm doing wrong. And,
Okay.
and they're really good, quarterbacks from the freaking couch, and they love to watch the game and they love to be critics. But here's the truth. There's only one man whose name is on the line here, and his name is Fred Delory. If Fred Delory doesn't deliver, then Fred Delory has failed. But I will tell you this.
Was Fred involved in Scheer's campaign?
No.
Oh, he wasn't. Okay.
That was Hamish.
Yeah, that was Hamish. And so you know what? The truth of the matter is, we can all, yammer on about how smart we are and how we think that Erin's failing. But I know there's a plan. And I know that if that plan fails, it's going to be on one person.
So I just want to jump in. So to Corey's earlier point about the sort of the communication failures around net zero for 2050, like here's another example. The Conservative Party was starting to gain some traction in recent weeks when it was being very critical of Huawei, the telecommunications giant based out of mainland China and its 5G networks. And then what happened in the last week or two? The vice president of Huawei Canada was hired and put in charge of the Conservative Party war room. So Canadians are looking at this, and again, it's another one of these sort of, you're literally shooting yourself in the foot. And this is another example of poor communications, poor policy decision-making, and we're seeing this time and time again. So someone like me, I'm not a social conservative, and so I should be one of Erin O'Toole's number one people in his voter pool. And I have a hard time trying to figure out what the guy stands for. So if I'm having a hard time and Corey's having a hard time and many others, according to all the polling data, then we have to question, is the party interested in appealing to the Canadian public at large, or is it only interested in appealing to sort of the loud voices that give the money and they're great to have for the infrastructure, but you can't win an election. You have to appeal to the public at large, and the party just isn't doing that. I mean, we started this discussion by your guest quoting verses from the Bible. I mean, this is how out of touch we are with. You think some soccer mom in Toronto wants to hear us quote verses of the Bible?
No soccer moms from Toronto are listening to this. But more importantly, look, you may not like where I come from, and that's okay, Clinton. But I do come from there. And
I didn't hear Clinton say he doesn't like.
Well, he
Haynes,
said
Alberta.
I started quoting Bible verse, and that's a problem. Well, we're not talking, Clinton. I don't know who you think you're talking to, but we're talking to people, the Western Standards audience, which is a group of people that I happen to know very well because I've spent my entire life in Western politics, including the Reform, and then the Alliance, and then the Stephen Harper leadership. And I'll say this. You know what? People don't have to like me, but the truth of the matter is, conservatives, real conservatives, understand that we cannot win with the strategy that Andrew Scheer put forward.
You realize the Conservative Party's current ceiling for its base.
No. Can I finish? May I finish?
Sure. Yeah.
The thing is, everyone is criticizing Erin right now because he spent the last 6 months building a plan to win. And he didn't tell everyone what his plan was from the very beginning, because you know who's listening to this right now? Definitely the Liberals. They're listening to every single conversation we have. And if we're already broadcasting our plan to everyone, then they're already going to know our plan. And what are they going to do? They're going to counter our plan. So it would be a very foolish election strategy to tell your enemy your plan before you begin to execute it. So, yeah, maybe it's down in the polls right now. And hey, Erin O'Toole could lose. I could be on the wrong side of history. But I will say this. But
so just to get this clear, are you saying, so you're saying that there is this plan that they put together. So basically, they got kind of a Hail Mary that they're getting ready to
No,
throw.
not a Hail Mary. A very detailed and strategic militaristic plan to target what needs to be done to win.
Well, the numbers suggest, and I realize that you've been slagging polls, and sometimes polls are wrong, but he seems to be going the wrong way in terms of his likability, though. Corey,
6 months of planning will do that to your likability.
all right, so Corey, this is the argument here that David is making, is that it's because Aaron's been spending all his time planning, strategizing. That's why his likability is on the decline.
Yeah, well, I believe during the planning session, O'Toole should be front and center. He should be speaking to Canadians, Western, Eastern, and so on. I mean, you don't stop doing everything because you're holding a secret, apparently, plan. So in the meantime, his support is dwindling. There's no getting around that. And that plan is going to get tougher and tougher, whatever the heck that secret plan may be, if he waits another couple more months to implement it. So we'd better see some planning to change the trending right now, or it's going to be a really big mountain to climb when that campaign hits.
Okay, Corey, so I don't want to go after you. Like I don't feel like we need to be personal. There needs to be no personal insults.
Well, it doesn't
here,
have to be any personal stuff anyway. But
the
go
truth
ahead.
of the matter is, like, you have no idea what you're talking about. You've never been in a national war room. You've never planned a national campaign. You've never even been involved in a national campaign. You have
nobody. He is a voter.
You know, I'm not going to put my resume up here. I'm starting to look. I don't have to put my CV up for you. And to be honest, as we've been seeing from the commenters, nobody's bloody heard of you. So don't be questioning our qualifications based on the anecdotes you're throwing out. We're putting out opinions. We're doing them, but don't feed me that BS that, oh, you haven't managed this and you haven't managed that.
I'm going to dial it back a little bit, guys. Let's go to Clinton. All right, so what's happening here is that apparently Erin O'Toole is playing 5D chess. He's got a plan, and the reason why people don't seem to like him, or is that his favorabilities have been on the decline, is that he's spending all his time planning and strategizing for this upcoming campaign. Clinton,
yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, look, I'm not taking any joy in saying this. I wish it were not the case, in fact. I really do. I don't believe that the Conservatives right now have positioned themselves to appeal to urban voters in Vancouver or Calgary or the GTA or the greater Halifax area or Quebec. Like this is a real problem. And I go back to my earlier point. They got to focus on things like pocketbook issues, on things like jobs, the economy, your savings, your retirement, on, growing the economy, getting caught up in this sort of war that's been in the headline of papers now going on 2 months about Derek Sloan and Campaign Life Coalition, and all of this stuff is not doing the party.
Yeah, but David is suggesting that that's Sloan's fault. And so now that Sloan is gone, that problem, I guess, has been resolved. Is that correct? But
no,
I do want to ask.
It's not resolved.
Okay.
What we're seeing happening is that, again, this is not me saying this. Like, we're hearing from journalists that are interviewing delegates for the upcoming convention, where they want to talk about abortion at the upcoming convention.
But what do you do? I mean, so are your people, David, are they being purged from the membership rolls ahead of this policy convention, as we've heard from people like Derek Sloan and from the National Campaign for Life? Are they being booted off the rolls in order to prevent a kind of ganging up on Erin O'Toole at that convention?
I'll say this right now. The last person who tried to purge my people from convention was Andrew Scheer. We all know what happened to him.
Yeah, he won. Well, he did lose, but he won the popular vote. He still got 34%, and right now, that's 4% more than, well, probably 6% more than Erin is polling. So I think. Listen, I think Erin would be hard pressed to match the same number of seats. With all due respect to your prediction earlier, David. Okay, well, maybe I am, but right now, I would say if there was an election today, the Liberals would be pretty darn close to a majority territory. What do you think, Corey?
Well, they're walking on that edge, so it's a swing thing. It's pretty important. I mean, it's been almost a bad for Canadians, but a gift for Trudeau or for O'Toole that the vaccine rollout has really harmed Trudeau, because it seems nothing else seemed to be chipping away at his support. And they were clearly getting ready to pull the pin pretty quickly here. And this is pure speculation on my part. But I mean, infections, I feel, and everything, the pandemic is really going to wind down with a lot of seasonal basis plus the vaccinations and so on. And that's going to be an ideal time for a governing party to say, okay, this is the time to hit the polls. People are feeling better. They're feeling relieved. So it's now we're at a point where it doesn't look like it might be a majority for Trudeau, but that can certainly change quickly. So it's we're getting into campaign mode, and we can't keep waiting on a plan, though. I mean, we really got to start turning that momentum around. I mean, it's almost.
Go ahead, Clinton.
Yeah, one of the things I want to throw in. So during this global medical pandemic that everyone has seen, this was a real opportunity for the Conservatives to actually gain some support. And what I've argued for some time now is one of the reasons that Erin O'Toole has performed poorly in the polls, and I'm not blaming him for this, by the way, is that there's a large segment of the Conservative Party base that considers COVID to be, quote unquote, just a flu. And then if you start talking about things like a COVID vaccine, then there's another segment of the party base that doesn't even believe in vaccines. And so for Erin O'Toole, he realizes that. He sees where the base of the party is, and he knows that if he talks about COVID and vaccines and things like that, that he's going to turn off a large number of these people who give money to the party, who do the door knocking and do the campaigning and all of that kind of stuff. So he's because of the base, he's not able to appeal to a larger segment of the public.
If I heard David correctly, alienating those people, or at least some of those people, is part of the strategy. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Is that part of the strategy?
I don't know the strategy. This is all perspective, right?
Okay, yeah.
But if I was doing it, if I was writing this strategy, that is exactly what I would be doing.
So you would, walk me through this. You would be deliberately upsetting members of the base who Clinton just identified, some of those anti-vaccine people.
I don't want those people are not going to get us to. Okay, look, what is the purpose of a political party? To win.
Yes.
You cannot win if your base is literally crazy people.
So you're going to get rid of the base? You're alienating the base on
purpose? The base is doing fine. The Conservative Party is hitting record fundraising numbers right now.
But you're saying that some of those people are actually bad for your prospects of getting elected. Am I right? 100%. The members of the base.
Yeah.
Did I hear you correct? So some members of the base are actually preventing the Conservative Party from moving forward and winning the election. Do I hear you correctly?
100%.
Okay, so we've narrowed it down. We've nailed it down, Corey. The problem is you guys. It's some of these people who are staunch believers in the Conservative Party in the past have attitudes that are upsetting those in the major centers who traditionally vote liberal, and they don't want to be associated with you. So the idea is to get rid of you. So therefore, in order to open the door for more people who would otherwise vote liberal, you have to get rid of the riffraff, and that's why you got to go. So that's I believe that's the direction that David is pointing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where to argue with this. Okay, if that's the way to go for it.
All right. What do you think, Clinton? Is that a strategy that might work? You deliberately get rid of the riffraff, quote unquote. And I don't consider those people riffraff, but it seems that that there's a certain mindset that suggests that if you get rid of those people, that it would open the door and be more welcoming to those centrists, liberal voters, some of whom are ticked off with Justin Trudeau and are looking elsewhere to go. But they look at the Conservatives and they go, I don't want to be associated with that bunch over there, those SoCons, and I don't want to be associated with people who don't believe in vaccines. I don't want to be associated with people who think COVID is a hoax. So why would I vote Conservative?
So to answer your point, instead of saying get rid of riffraff, the solution is for the leader to take on the vaccine discussion and to embrace it and make it his issue. That is the solution, so that people in other parts of the country, even people in the West who live in the prairies, who live in Calgary and Edmonton, and people who live in towns that are in favor of vaccinations, so they feel comfortable with the leader. But if the leader is afraid to even acknowledge why a vaccine program is important and why it's important for our health and for our economy and all of these things, then the public is left with the perception, unfortunately, that the sort of the anti-vaxxers, it's the COVID is they call it a pandemic, right? That's the term that these guys use, right? So
well, it didn't hurt that the prime minister himself came out and said that this is an opportunity to force an economic reset. I mean, that fed into a lot of the conspiracy theories.
But to your point, there's a lot of those liberal voters that aren't really happy with where Trudeau is going, and so they're trying to find another home, we think. But the problem is if the Conservatives if the leadership of the Conservative Party doesn't say, look, we believe in vaccinations. We believe that COVID is a real global medical pandemic that we need to deal with in order to get our economy humming and rolling again.
Okay,
if they're
so
not
David,
prepared to do that, then they're not going to get those mainstream votes.
and Erin O'Toole just shook up his communications team not that long ago. So is that what needs to happen here, David Parker? I mean, Erin needs to come out and say, all right, here's where we stand as a party. We believe that this is not a hoax, that it's a real, the COVID-19 is a real virus. We believe in vaccines, and that segment of the party that thinks otherwise, well, we're not going to have anything to do with them. Is that what he needs to do?
Look, Clinton and I are in fundamental agreement on pretty much everything that he just said, but it's more than that, right? It's the Conservatives don't want to lose either. Like this attitude that the SoCons will just leave and they'd rather lose than see the Conservatives win is completely ridiculous. Yeah, Cory Morgan and people like Cory, and I like Cory. Like Cory and I have literally talked many times. I like him, but that attitude is not conducive to victory. And
I'll tell you where that might be mistaken. The people who come out and say, you know what, we decided that Lisa Raitt would be defeated, and who's the we? The SoCons in her riding.
The Muslims. It was the Pakistani Muslims in Milton. That's why.
Not according to the National Campaign Life.
I'm managing the campaign in Milton for the Conservatives right now. I know that data way better than you.
Well, according to the SoCons, they stayed home. They did not support Lisa. They came out and said, you know what, we could have put Lisa Raitt over the hump, and we decided not to support her. But
false.
Okay, that's false. There you go, Cory. I don't know where are we going from here.
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm one of the ones that I've been pretty open. I believe in vaccines. I've never denied that the pandemic is real and that it needs to be addressed and things such as that. But again, at the same time, I want to see some conservatism. My issues have been more on the shelving of Polyev. My concerns have been on this very aggressive climate plan that sounds like something the Liberals may have drafted, without having the blanks filled in on how he's going to get to it. But again, when I show distress with the party, I'm told, bye-bye, we don't need you. So, okay, carry on.
So is that what's going on here? So people like you are being, there you go. David Parker is saying goodbye.
Okay. Carry on with that campaign. Good luck.
Yeah, they see you as a detriment.
Yes, apparently.
They see people like you as a detriment.
Absolutely.
So he's the problem. Cory Morgan and people like him who think like him, they are the problem. They are the impediment to keeping to victory as far as Erin O'Toole and his team is concerned. Is that right, David?
I don't speak for Erin O'Toole or his team.
Okay, what do you think? I'm asking your opinion.
Someone like Cory is the reason that the Conservatives lose.
Wow. Okay, is that true, Clinton?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Cory is pointing out that he's in favor of a message that embraces like the health and the science and things like that around COVID, but he's also pointing out that he wants a little more free enterprise, I guess is maybe the best way to describe it, on some of these other issues. And look, I've always argued that conservative governments, whether they're federal or provincial, the ones that have always been elected in our lifetimes have been the ones that have focused on free enterprise and not getting involved in those morality wars.
There's also the
whether it's Stephen Harper or it's Brian Mulroney or Ralph Klein in Alberta or Mike Harris in Ontario.
Yeah. What about
focus on the business and the free enterprise stuff?
Okay. What about the deplorables, though, David, who spend money, who give money? But you're talking about the record.
Fundraising is better than it's ever been.
Yeah, but isn't that largely due to the very people that you think are the problem?
Well, if they're all feeling like Corey, then they wouldn't be donating, would they?
Well, I would suggest to you that a lot of people who are donating are longtime party members, some of whom may not particularly like whether.
Mark.
Yeah.
Just a frank question: How many Elections Canada returns for donations have you gone through in your life?
Oh, I've been a journalist or a media person all my life.
Have you analyzed the data and said, hey, the Conservative Party is now 15% above their fundraising from last year, and they're probably projected to be 20% above it.
Mm-hmm.
And
all right, who's
people are
since
so
you have the numbers, who's giving the money? Who is donating? Is it people?
It's
is
all
it liberals?
people in Alberta and Saskatchewan and Alberta. It's the same people.
But I thought those were the deplorables, though, David. I thought those were the people you want to get rid of. I mean, the people that you say you don't need. You say we need to get rid of the 15% of Albertans.
That is a misinterpretation.
You told me that they are the problem. That the people who.
I did not say that. I said that people like Corey who are going around saying that Erin is defaming them or is separating himself from them is actually lying even about how they feel about Erin.
All right. Let's go around one more time.
The facts bear it out. They're already donating more. After Sloan left, donations went up.
Okay, there you go.
The donation votes. And that's what we got to look at in the end. You could quadruple your donations. If you give Trudeau a majority, it doesn't matter.
You know where you don't get a majority? You know where you never get a majority? Alberta.
This is the problem that I alluded to earlier. And like Corey just hit it. He goes, you know what's more important? You're right, Corey. What's more important than donations? It's votes. Listen, the Conservatives outstripped the Liberals in fundraising in 2019. But they got their butts kicked on.
No, they actually got more votes. So actually, votes don't matter. Even votes.
No, listen. Everybody knows that the majority of and this is not a criticism.
And where do the votes matter, Clinton? Where do they matter? Not in Alberta.
Pardon me?
Not in Alberta.
But you're missing the point.
No, I'm literally saying the point.
Well, yeah, to David Parker's point, the Alberta votes, frankly. I mean, if the Conservative Party could take, 50,000 Alberta votes and move them to the GTA and to the 905 belt, they would do that in a heartbeat. I mean, they would do that tomorrow.
Maybe that's what they're doing, Mark.
Okay, so that's the plan. That's the 5G. That's the 5D chess that a game that Erin O'Toole is playing right now. Corey, let's go around one more time. Final comments. Has Erin O'Toole and the Conservative Party abandoned Conservatives in Canada, yay or nay? Corey?
Sure, I'll just start. I mean, again, I'm a classical liberal. The social issues were never of concern for me. Again, I'm not up on, saying vaccines don't work and all those things. But again, I guess due to being a small government Albertan, I'm still of the ones that they wave bye-bye to. So, yeah, I definitely feel abandoned. And as you said, you can sacrifice those Alberta votes, okay, but I don't see a formula that necessarily means they will translate to Central Canadian votes. It might just be a net loss. We aren't seeing the gains anywhere yet, so this hidden strategy.
Well, that is a problem because it's if you believe in that if you believe in that zero-sum game argument, then by all rights, the more people should be leaning conservative, say in the 905 belt where I'm in Mississauga and Brampton and in Vaughan and all these other areas in the 905 belt, but so far that's not really happening. I'll let you finish in a second there, Parker. Clinton, over to you.
Look, the Conservatives need to appeal to mainstream Canada. And you can do that by talking about free enterprise, by talking about fiscal conservatism, by talking about pocketbook issues, and science, innovation, technology, all of that kind of stuff. You don't need to get into this argument about morality. And I mean, to David's point earlier about fundraising, I mean, at the end of the day, fundraising means nothing. It's votes is what matters. And because we've seen, look, the Conservatives outfunded the Liberals in 2015. They outfunded, the Conservatives outfunded the Liberals in 2019. They still lost. So what's important is appealing to mainstream Canada, not worrying about how much money can we get in order to keep all kinds of office people employed and big fancy staffs and all the rest of this stuff. Focus on where Canadians are, and they might reward you with some votes.
All right. David Parker.
All right. Well, I'll just say this. There's only one man who cares more about this than anyone on this panel, and his name is Erin O'Toole. And if we all think that Erin O'Toole just sitting around with his thumb up his ass trying to figure out whether or not he's going to be able to win, then you seriously underestimate Erin O'Toole.
Okay.
And I will say this. Erin O'Toole was seriously underestimated when he ran the first time. And he lost. And you know what he learned from that? He learned how to win. And then he won. And he won against all odds. And my money is that nobody here is right on Erin O'Toole and that he can be a winner. Will he be a winner? The beautiful thing about politics and stock markets is we're always going to know. One of us is going to be right and three of us is going to be wrong.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. I do appreciate that. There have been a lot of comments. I'm sorry we didn't discuss any of them because a lot of them have been, frankly, have been leaning in favor of the idea that Erin is not a conservative. But maybe those are a lot of the people that you, as you mentioned, David Parker, that those people don't matter that much, that the people who really matter are the ones that they need to bring aboard come election time in the 905 belt. And if you have to sacrifice one group in order to attract another, then you do it. I think that's your argument. Is that correct? Just
that's my
yea or
argument.
nay?
Yeah.
Okay, that's your argument. You got to get rid of those people in order to bring in.
Not get rid of them. I would like everyone to go conservative. If Corey decided to come and we could work on a campaign together, Corey and I would be great campaigners together. But the truth of the matter is, if Corey's decided that his, hill to die on is Pierre Poilievre not being the finance critic, but instead being the guy who's leading the jobs, which is the entire messaging of the campaign, well, then Corey can decide that. But the truth of the matter is, I don't need 60% in Alberta. I need...
Yeah, well, right now you got 41% and it's falling. So, maybe the day will come where people say, oh, you know what? Maybe we went too far. We alienated so many. Don't forget what happened with the Reform Party, right? Maybe there was a time that the PC Party. Yeah, there was the PC Party that maybe had the same idea. Well, we don't need those. We know those Albertans will vote for us anyway. And we all know what happened in 1993. They were obliterated. They were down to 2 seats. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Really appreciate this. And, we had a very spirited discussion, which I'm grateful. The worst thing to do is when you get people who all think the same way and it's just an echo chamber. And that certainly hasn't been the case. So I want to thank all of the people who have tuned in to this transmission on the Western Standard Online. I want to thank all those who made comments. And I will have a look at those comments. We're all welcome to do that. Guys, Corey Morgan, Clinton DeVoe, David Parker, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time and appreciate your comments today. And most of all, I thank you out there who've tuned in. That's it for us. That's it for me, Mark Petroni. Check out my show, by the way, on Saga 960 AM between 9 a.m. Eastern and 11 a.m. Eastern as well. So we talk a lot about these very similar issues time and time again. So have a great evening. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.